Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. RWBY time once again, and we're doing another double feature. Because every time I think I get caught up, something happens and I don't get the time to film. So, today we will be looking at Chapter 8, Dead End, and Chapter 9, Lost. As always, I will be talking spoilers, and since the episodes are now public, in the description box below, you will find the links to Rooster Teeth's website where you can now, and the episodes in particular, where you can now watch them. So, let's start with Chapter 8, Dead End. After the end of last episode, where Team RWBY, Crow, Oscar, and Maria finally made it to Atlas, no, not Atlas, I'm sorry, Argus, and met up again with Team Juniper. Team Juniper told them that they already tried chartering a flight from Argus to Atlas only to be denied. So, this episode begins immediately where that one left off, and we meet Caroline Cordovan, the sort of antagonist of this section of the plot, this section of the story. And right off the bat, I kind of have to ask this. And hopefully this is the most crass I ever get on my channel, but we'll see. With the exception of Weiss, Winter, and General Ironwood, is there anyone from Atlas who is not a massive dick? I mean, I get what they're going for with the Kingdom of Atlas and their history and their mindset, but yeesh. No wonder Weiss went to Vale. These people are terrible. But at least with Caroline, with Cordovan, it's done very over the top. So I feel that did help a little bit. But yeah, basically, Ironwood closed the borders to Atlas for its own protection because he's overreacting, understandably. That's the thing about Ironwood. He does dickish things, but you always understand what he's doing. Even if it's the wrong thing to do, you at least understand where he's coming from. But yeah, no, she is very staunch in reinforcing Ironwood's sort of embargo. And basically says that Weiss would be the only one allowed to go to Atlas. And then she makes a dig at Blake. Which is good because in the past volumes, like especially with the White Fang, we've talked a lot about why the White Fang started in the first place, because of the human mistreatment of the Faunus, but we never really saw a lot of it. And now we finally did see a little bit of it, granted in one character, but no, I do think that helps a little bit. So yeah, for the time being, the gang is stuck in Argus, and they need to figure out how to get into Atlas. Can we skip the Jean scene, please? In the past episodes, I've talked about this. I'm glad we're getting answers, but we're doing it through a trope I hate. Can we not talk about this again? Okay. So basically, after that, the team fills in Jean on what happened in the previous episodes, what they learned about Salem's backstory, about Jin, and how Salem is immortal. And he lashes out at Oscar and Ozpin. And I still hate this trope. Like, I feel Jean's anger is understandable, but it's so ham-fisted. Yeah. I did like the scene at the end, though. I did like that we got this scene at the end between RWBY and Maria, where RWBY tries to learn more about what it means to have silver eyes and the abilities that come with it. And I like that Maria is not sort of the be-all, end-all. She is very much sort of a Yoda figure, but I like that it's like, she basically says, I can help you with some of your abilities. I know some of how this works. I don't have all the answers, though. And given that they still have the relic and Jin, it does make me wonder. I did start to wonder, is Ruby gonna ask Jin? Just my own personal thoughts, but yeah, there's that. Ultimately, I think I would give Episode 8, Chapter 8, a C, because, again, there's a lot of setup, but the episode is ultimately lacking. And now we're on Chapter 9. Whoops. Dead End. And, again, we're still getting a lot of that setup into what will be the payoff, but I think this episode did it a lot better. For one thing, we open with Emerald and Mercury. And I am totally blanking. No, what was I going to say? Okay, now, in Volume 3, we learned how Cinder met Emerald and Mercury. And now, here, in this scene, we're learning the why. And, how different Emerald and Mercury really are. Emerald joined Cinder because of Cinder. And, where am I going with this? And now, basically, Emerald and Mercury both joined Cinder. And now that Cinder isn't there, they kind of have to reevaluate their position. Like, Emerald did everything that she has done so far for Cinder. Mercury did it because of his upbringing. Basically, he was raised because of his alcoholic, abusive, assassin father. He was brought up in a world that hated him, and the only way he learned to live in this world is to become stronger than it. So, Emerald is starting to have doubts, and Mercury feels he's right where he needs to be. We also do get a minor plot development as we learn that Dr. Watts and Tyrion are going to Atlas to try and sway Ironwood in their favor. So yeah, I like that scene. I like that we got a bit of development with Emerald and Mercury. I feel that, now, because they were Cinder's lackeys, now that Cinder is not there, what do they do? So I like that we got that. And then the episode shifts back to Argus. At the end of episode 8, I forgot to mention this, I'm sorry, after their little standoff between Jean and Oscar ran away. He's missing. So everyone's splitting up to search for him. And Jean finds a memorial statue of Pyrrha. And then he meets a red-headed woman who talks about Pyrrha. Because Pyrrha, I think they said she was... They either said she was from Argus or she went to the school at Argus Mantle before going to Vale. And I'm just going to say this right now because the fandom kind of went nuts over this. That woman that John was talking to is not Pyrrha. And honestly, while Pyrrha's death was very tragic, very sad, I hope she doesn't come back. Because, for one thing, it was planned from the beginning, we now know. And if you watch Volume 3 with the actors' commentary, the cast commentary, from the beginning, the writers knew that Pyrrha was going to die. And here's the thing. Since Pyrrha died, Pyrrha's death has been a major motivation, a major change, a major development for both Jean and RWBY. And just bringing her back, I feel, would cheapen their characters and would undo all the development they made because of her death. Even though she was my favorite character, it's the same thing that happened with Genkai in Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, they brought her back, and a lot of the development Yusuke made was undone. So yeah, that's just my thought on it. I like the scene because, especially when Nora and Ren showed up, because it showed John finally getting his grief out in the open, because as we saw in that wonderful scene in Volume 4, John was keeping it to himself. He was bottling everything up, but now he's got it out in the open, and he's ready to accept Pyrrha's death and start moving on. And then everyone makes it back to the house, and where they find Oscar. You know, Oscar had a brief costume change, which I have to admit I like the new costume, and now him and John come to an understanding. He apologizes for his lashing out. He's still understandably aggravated at Ozpin, even though I hate the trope. And they finally decide to make their move. They are going to, since Cordovan will not let them go to Atlas, they are going to sneak their way past her to Atlas. And yeah. Oh, I haven't even talked about Crow. Where do I start with this one? Basically, you know, Crow has always, ever since we met him in Volume 3, been kind of a pessimist. Given what he's seen, that's very and what he knows, that's very understandable. But, you know, and we've known he's an alcoholic, and throughout this volume, that's really come to a head. You know, like even to the point where Ruby is starting to address her issues with Crow's alcoholism. It's a good arc, admittedly, but with everything else, it feels just kind of shoehorned in. It's like, it just feels like there could have been a better time to do this. Ultimately, though, I'm going to give Lost, a B+. So, Chapter 8 gets a C, Chapter 9 gets a B+. But those are just my thoughts on these two episodes. What were yours? Feel free to start a conversation in the comments. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell to get notifications when I upload, because subscribe doesn't do that. In the description box below the links to the episodes, you'll find the link to my Twitter profile where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. And this is Sir Jedi Sentinel. I'll see you guys next time for chapters 10 and 11, and hopefully get caught up before the finale. So, bye!